Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Samia Aisha with student number 2313042015. And here I would like to tell you a story about The Looking Glass by Anton Chekhov. Once upon a time, in New Year's Eve, Nellie, the daughter of a landowner and general, a young and pretty girl, dreaming day and night of being married. She was sitting in her room, gazing with exhausted, half-closed eyes into the looking glass. She was pale, tanned, and as motionless as the looking glass. The non-existent but apparent vista of a long corridor, narrow, with endless rows of candles. The reflection of her face, her hands of the frame. All this was already clouded in mist and merged into a boundless grey sea. The sea was undulating, gleaming, and the flaring crimson. Looking at Nellie's motionless eyes and parted lips, one could hardly say whether she was asleep or awake. But nevertheless, she was sane. At first, she saw only the smile and soft, charming expression of someone's eyes. Then against the shifting grey background, there readily appeared the outlines of a head, a face, eyebrows, beard. It was he, the destined one, the object of long dreams and hopes. The destined one was for Nellie everything: the significance of life, personal happiness, career, fate. Outside him, as on a grey background, the looking glass, all was dark, empty, and meaningless. Then she heard his voice, saw herself living under the same roof with him. Her life merged into his. Months and years flew by against the grey background, and Nellie saw her future distinctly in all its details. Picture followed picture against the grey background. Now Nellie saw herself one winter night knocking at the door of Stephen Lukic, the district doctor. The old duck hoarsely and lazily barked behind the gate. The doctor's windows were in darkness. All was silent. For God's sakes, whispered Nellie. But at last the garden's gate creaked, and Nellie saw the doctor's kick. Is the doctor at home? His Honor is asleep. He just only got from his reservations and gave orders he was not to be awake. But Nellie scarcely heard the gook. Thrusting her aside, she rushed headlong into the doctor's house. Running through some dark and stuffy rooms, upsetting 2 or 3 chairs, she at last reached the door's bedroom. Stephen Lukic was lying on his back, the rest but without his coat, and with putty lips was breathing into his open head. A little light glimmer faintly beside him. Without uttering a word, Nellie sat down and began to cry. She wept bitterly, shaken all over. My husband is ill, she sobbed out. Stephen Lukic was silent. He slowly sat up, propped his head on his hand, and looked at his visitor with fixed, sleeping eyes. My husband is ill, Nellie continued, restraining her sob. Come, come this very minute, or it's terrible to think. And pale, exhausted Nellie, gasping and swallowing her tears, began describing to the doctor her husband's illness. Her suffering would have touched her to the stone, but the doctor looked at her, blew into his open hand, and not a movement. I'll come tomorrow, he muttered. That's impossible! I know my husband has typhus. At once, this very minute, you are needed. I have only just come in. For the last 3 days, I've been away, seeing typhus patients, and I'm exhausted and in myself. I simply can't. Absolutely, I've got it myself. My temperature is barely 40. I absolutely can't. I can hardly sit up. Excuse me, I'll lay down. The doctor lay down. But I implore you, doctor, I beseech you, help me. For mercy's sake, make a great effort and come. I will repay you, doctor. Oh dear, why, I have told you already. Nellie leaped up and walked nervously and down the bedroom. She had to explain to the doctor to bring him the reason. She thought if only he knew how dear her husband was to her and how unhappy she was, he would forget his exhaustion and his illness. But how could she be likened enough? Go to the doctor. She heard Sybil Luckett's voice. That's impossible! He lives more than 20 miles from here, and time is precious, and the horses can't stand it. It is 20 miles away from us, and as much from here to the dental doctor. No, it's impossible. Come on, Sybil Luckett. I ask you for an heroic deed. Come, perform that heroic deed. Have pity on us. I'm sorry. It's beyond everything. I'm in fever. My head's in a whirl, and she won't understand. Leave me alone. But you are in a daddy bound on me. You cannot refuse to come. It's egoism. The man is bound to sacrifice his life to his neighbor, and you refuse to come. I will summon you before the court. Nellie felt that she was uttering a false and understanding insult, but for the husband's sake, she was capable of forgetting logic, tact, and sympathy for others. At last, the doctor gave way. He slowly got up, puffing and panting, looking for his coat. Here it is. Let me put it to you. Come along. I will repay you. All my life I shall be grateful of you. But what agony! After putting on his coat, the doctor lay down again. Nellie got him up and dragged him to the house. His cap was lost. But at last, Nellie was in a carriage with the doctor. Now, they had only to drive 30 miles, and her husband would have a doctor's help. There were frozen lamps under the wheels. The coachman was continually stopping and wondering which road to take. Nellie and the doctor sat silent all the way. It was fearfully jolting, but they felt neither the cold nor the jolt. Hey, get on! Nellie's implored the driver. At 5 in the morning, the exhausted horses drove into the yard. Nellie saw the familiar gates. Wait a moment, I will be back directly, she said to Sybil Luckett, making him sit down on the sofa in the dining room. Sit still and wait a little, and I'll see how he's going on. On her return from her husband, Nellie found the doctor lying down. He was lying on the sofa and then muttering, Doctor, please, doctor. Huh? What? Raising at a meeting. Lasso said. Well, I must go to the Zamsto doctor. Then again there followed darkness, a cutting cold wind, lumps a frozen it. She was suffering in body and soul, and delicate nature has no arts, no deceptions to compensate this sufferings. Then she saw against the grey background how her husband every spring was in straits for money to pay the interest for the mortgage to the bank. He could not sleep. She could not sleep, and both racked their brains till their heads ached, thinking how to avoid being visited by the click of the call. The grey background was not untouched by death. That might well be. A husband and a wife cannot die simultaneously. Whatever happened, one must bury the other. And Nellie saw her husband die. This terrible event presented itself to her in every detail. She saw the coffin, the candles, the deacon, and even the footmarks in the hell made by the undertaker. What is it? What is it for? She asked while crying, looking blankly at her husband's face. And all the previous life with her husband seemed to her a stupid reality. Something fell from Nellie's hand and knocked on the floor. And opened her eyes wide. One looking-glass she saw lying at her feet. The other was standing as before on the table. She looked into the looking-glass and saw a pale, tear-stained face. There was no grey background now. I must have fallen asleep, she thought with a sigh of relief. So that is the story from Anton with the title The Looking Glass. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.